Good morning, Catherine. Thank you so much for waiting. Please follow me to the room where the interview will be taking place. I hope you had a lovely Christmas break, and I hope your journey to offices weren't too bad. Were you able to find them okay?
The journey was fine. Unfortunately, it's a bit grey and miserable outside, so there was more traffic than usual, but I was able to find your offices no problem at all when I got here, and the receptionist was very welcoming. And I did have a good Christmas, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, it was good, thank you. Now we're at the room, please take a seat and make yourself comfortable. There is water on the table if you would like to help yourself during the interview.
Thank you.
Now we're settled, I just wanted to formally introduce myself. My name is Kieran, and I'm the HR business partner here at our Swindon office. I work with senior managers to ensure their teams are looked after from a high level perspective, and also work strategically on HR projects locally in collaboration with our other offices. I'm also responsible for the HR officers here in our Swindon office. You would have received the details of the interview in your invite. However, just as a reminder, this interview will be competency based. Therefore, I will be asking questions around your current skills and experience, looking for examples on how you dealt with a number of different scenarios. Please also note that this interview will be recorded. Before we proceed any further, I just want to make sure you're comfortable. So please let me know if there is anything you currently need.
I'm good, thank you.
Great. Then we'll start. So first question. This role requires a great deal of organisation and multitasking. Could you please tell me a time where you've had to manage multiple activities, and how did you go about this?
Okay. So, in my experience as a HR coordinator, I was involved in organising a range of functions, including payroll, benefits, and induction. As you can imagine, these are all critical tasks that need to be kept on top of in order to facilitate the day-to-day running of the business. To ensure I was organised, I set out clear times each day to review and ensure everything was going to plan. I also used these set times to deal with any inquiries that came in regarding these topics. To ensure I kept tabs, I marked individual emails with the relevant tags and flagged anything specific if it needed to be done that day.
So can I ask what the result of these actions were?
Yeah, so it meant that all areas got the required attention needed to function each day and contribute to the smooth running of the organisation.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question. As you can imagine, we deal with a lot of sensitive data in the organisation. Could I ask how you've handled sensitive data in a previous role?
Yep, so when I had to recruit 20 business and engineering contract positions when I was in a previous post, not only did I have to handle the communication between myself and the candidates throughout the process, I also had to ensure any data that was gathered was secured and stored safely to ensure I comply with GDPR. To do this, I set out space in a locked filing cabinet for any documentation that was received and ensured that each time it was closed, it was securely locked by myself. In terms of online communication, I ensured that personal details were kept separate and marked them appropriately. As a result, I was able to comply with all of the necessary data regulations and successfully recruit the contractors required for the organisation.
Thank you. Could you also tell me about a situation where your communication skills have made a difference in a situation?
Okay, we were implementing an organisation's new HR database. It was the first one they'd ever had. Due to my experience, I ensured that I was put on the project team to assist and administer this to the organisation. Because of the number of senior stakeholders involved, I had to adapt my communication to ensure they understood why certain parts of the system had to be added. This came to a head when a senior executive didn't understand why we needed to waste time ensuring the report functionality had to be run through over and over again. Therefore, I arranged a one-to-one meeting with this executive to advise that this needed to be working 100% before we could move on to the next stage, as it had an impact on everything else, such as workers' performance and absence. Once he understood why we were putting so much time into this, he came around and actually offered some additional time to help get this sorted.
Interesting. So moving on to the next question. How would you successfully build relationships with other members of your team?
In my previous roles, I've had to work with multiple teams. Therefore, it is always a challenge ensuring that you can build and also maintain working relationships. I always find the best way to start is being an active listener, as this really helps give a picture of individuals and gives an insight into how they work. This helps me work with them as I can adapt my approach to their needs to ensure that when we work together, we are able to do this productively and in a positive manner.
Excellent. So last question. This role requires high attention to detail. Answers to queries must be informative, and contractual documentation must be constructed effectively. Could you please let me know of a time where perhaps something was potentially missed or written in error, and how you would ensure this situation didn't happen again?
Okay. There was a situation when I was a human resources officer where a mistake was made in the middle of the union negotiations, and an amendment that was agreed upon wasn't amended in the finalised contract. Due to this, there was a raised dispute between the unions and the organisation which needed to be resolved. Otherwise, the relationship could have been soured in future negotiations. To make sure this didn't happen again, I ensure that documentation is double checked by myself and then peer reviewed by a colleague. Since this incident, the process I have set for myself has meant that nothing like this has happened in the rest of my career.
Well, I'm pleased to advise that this concludes our interview, so you can relax a little now. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day today to discuss this with me. Now that we have finished, I would be more than happy to take any questions from you if you have them.
Okay. So how would you describe the working environment?
So I would say the working environment is very collaborative. The HR officers are a small team that work very well together to resolve issues and bounce ideas off each other. We do also have wider HR team collaboration through multiple projects, team building exercise, and various social activities.
That sounds great. Another question I have is, where do you think the organisation will be in 5 years' time?
Oh, that's a good question. As a leading organisation in our sector, I would think we would look at different opportunities for growth in areas related to toys, such as potentially robotics. But even though I think pure growth is important, I would also like us to potentially lead the way in amending the current manufacturing process and become an organisation renowned for its sustainability, as well as the core products we sell and manufacture. Did you have any more questions at all?
I note that the office is based in Swindon, but due to the current climate, will this still be the case if I was to be successful?
So employee safety is our top priority. So we wouldn't expect you to come to the office until it's absolutely safe to do so, and our employees also felt comfortable. Of course, I'd be happy to discuss the arrangements further with you should you be offered the position. Did you have any further questions at all?
Nothing further, thank you.
That's no problem at all. Well, that concludes the interview. Thank you once again for your time. And just to let you know that we are hoping to notify candidates of the outcome by the end of the week, so I will be in touch shortly.
That's great. Thank you very much for inviting me to the interview, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Excellent.